New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Why, hello, it's me, yes, me, Bonnie Gonzalez, your doula for grief. So welcome today. This is the first live show of the year. So it is just a really special and auspicious day for me. I can't believe that your doula for grief on Valentine's Day would be a year that we've been here actually discussing grief. And that is a difficult subject. Most people shy away from it. Most people, when they hear about grief, the first thing they think of is death. And that is, in our culture, that is almost like an unspeakable, not almost, death is a really difficult subject for our society to embrace and to discuss and share our feelings around. So I am just so honored that your doula for grief has staying power here, because we are moving the needle on that, bringing death, bringing grief out of the shadows and smack dab in the middle of our lives. And as you know, and I say every week, that loss is what we experience and grief is what we feel. And that loss can be a myriad of things, be it death, yes, that is just the ultimate, but loss of a job, even loss of income, loss of health, surgeries that may be mutilative in some sense, loss of health. So we really suffer a myriad of losses during our lives, and that's what puts us into grief. So today we're gonna I have a great program scheduled for ritual and ceremony with a beautiful guest, Judith Roberts, who's going to be joining me in just a few minutes. But we had a little snafu and got off to a late start here. But in that late start, I just found a reading that I'd like to share with you before we move forward. And I just thought it just spoke so eloquently to grief. And this is by Mark Matusek. Grief may be the greatest healing experience of a lifetime. It's certainly one of the hottest fires we will encounter. It penetrates the heart layers of our self-protection, plunges us into the sadness, fear, and despair we have tried so hard to avoid. Grief is unpredictable, uncontrollable. There are no shortcuts around grief. The only way is right through the middle. Some say time heals, but that's a half-truth. Time alone doesn't heal. Time and attention heals. In grief, we access parts of ourselves that were somehow unavailable to us in the past. With awareness, the journey through grief becomes a path to wholeness. Grief can lead us to a profound understanding that reaches beyond our individual loss. It opens us to the most essential truth of our lives, the truth of impermanence, the causes of suffering, and the illusion of separateness. When we meet these experiences with mercy and awareness, we begin to appreciate that we are more than the grief. We are what the grief is moving through. In the end, we may still fear death, but we don't fear living nearly as much. In surrendering to our grief, we have learned to give ourselves more fully to life. And that is by Mark Matusik. And I just thought that just so sums up what grief is all about. So today we are here, gosh, after having what I feel like is a whirlwind of the holidays and the holidays that is so filled with ritual and ceremony. You know, we started off with Hanukkah, and then Christmas, and then Kwanzaa, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. All of those things have allowed us to explore our cultural rituals and ceremony, which brings us together. I know that it causes a lot of angst for a lot of people and lots of families, because these rituals, these times of the year can bring up the remembering of those that are no longer here with us, maybe some hope and dream that you had for the year of 2022. So these holidays can just stir the pot. Why don't I say it that way? Can just stir the pot. And what I thought we could do today, because we've all been pretty much stirred up with these holidays, with the holiday. I feel like I'm putting a negative spin on it, but not a negative spin, but just to be in bringing some awareness around some of the things that can come up. And it's not always joyous and happy holidays. And now that we are beginning the new year, this is still that time that we're in that period of wanting to maybe have some ritual around some of the things that we want to call into our lives, or just having that awareness, writing things down. So with that said, I don't want to take up too much time with discussion. I do want us to move into a ritual. We're going to do one ritual to pay homage to those that have been in our lives. And then we will close with a ritual that brings in some energy and some of the desires that you have for the new year. So I am so just honored to have just a beautiful guest here with me today, that she's going to help me with going through the healing power of a ritual. And Judith Roberts, just a beautiful light, a beautiful soul here on the planet. And not only that, she's a dear, dear friend. And I thank her so much for taking time out of her day to be here with me and with us. And so a little bit about Judith. Judith Roberts is a licensed practitioner with the Centers for Spiritual Living. She has been certified in a number of healing modalities. She is a sound healer and a student of shamanism. By profession, Judith is a corporate trainer, an instructional designer, and technical writer who is currently working remotely in her home in Oakland, California, where she lives with her nephew and her cat. Judith has volunteer work that's a long list of volunteer work, but just to name a few, Judith has volunteered with her instructor, her personal mentor from Rawat, serving as a class mentor for the late Angelise Arian. Judith also sings in the Threshold Choir, and they sing at the bedside of the dying. Judith also participates in sacred music presentations with the Golden Age movement. And she's a regular speaker on Wednesday nights at the Oakland Center for Spiritual Living on the Wednesday night Oasis. So you can catch her there and catch some of her YouTube videos from some of the presentations that she's presented there. Judith also enjoys hiking, swimming, traveling, concerts, and singing. So please, just help me welcome Judith to our program today.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Oh, how are you? Ooh.
I'm good. That was quite an introduction. Thank you.
Well, that's Judith. That's just the tip of the iceberg of who you are. Mm-hmm. And I just thank you so much for being here today, Judith.
Thank you for inviting me, Bonnie.
Yes, I'm just having a little with my sound here. Judith, I was just talking to our audience about the whirlwind of the holidays that we've just moved through, and that we do have a ritual plan to just pay homage to our loved ones and people in our lives that are not here with us as we move into 2023. And as we both know, that ritual can mark the end of a time of our lives, but it can also mark the beginning, the new movement. So I thought we would just go ahead, Judith, and start with our, I'm sorry, when I'm on, I should have my phone off so it doesn't ping and ring. So anyway, I thought we would just go ahead and move into our ritual to honor those that have been with us.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. And I had asked Joe if you could have Judith maybe spotlight Judith as we do this. All right. Maybe the other way. Judith would be and I'll be on the small screen. Okay, Joe. Okay, well.
This is fine, Bonnie. This is fine.
Yeah, I just want everyone to be able to see the candles as we light the candles. Okay. So just taking a deep breath and just being together, Judith and I, and feel, and just know that you're included in this, that you are included in this ritual. So just be with us and drop into yourself. Oh, and so this is entitled A Time to Remember. Today we pay homage to those whom our hearts have owned and had, and who we know we shall never lose.
We recall those who have been the very life to us, those who we shall never forget.
We come together today to remember those who have touched our lives in such a way that we will never be the same. We are changed by having known them.
We shall always be indebted for what they have given us and grateful for the ways to which they have blessed our lives. Grateful for the ways in which they have blessed our lives.
Yes. So let us remember those who have been as light of light to us, memorializing our relationships in the ceremony, ritual of candlelight and love. And so with this first candle, we light a candle in the memory of our mothers and fathers, grandparents and great-grandparents. We remember also those who were as mother or father to us, loving us by choice rather than by chance. Thank you. Our second candle. We light this candle in memory of our sisters, brothers, aunts and uncles, relatives near and distant throughout time. Thank you. And this third candle, we light a candle in the memory of our children who have gone before us, and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. We remember both those who lived and those who danced upon the earth. And our fourth candle, we light this candle in the memory of our wives and husbands, dearest lovers and closest friends, those who opened us to ourselves and to life, even as we opened ourselves to them and now to eternity.
The fifth candle remains unlit.
The fifth candle, the final candle, is unlit. We remember also that the time will come when we ourselves will pass through the barrier, separating one form of life to another. We know that as we remember today, we will be remembered tomorrow. Let's just breathe into that. Let's just breathe into this, to the space that we've created for remembrance of those that are not with us today. And thanking them for the changes they have brought to our lives. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Ah, yes. I thought I would start with that, Judith, just as a way of segueing into how rituals can help us heal from grief. And I know that you have been a devotee of Angelise Arian, which I'm a little bit envious of. I never got to meet her. I remember that I was so excited that I finally had a workshop that she was going to lead with registered nurses, and just so excited for that. And she made her transition about a week before. So I felt a little bit, Angelise, could you have hung in there just for me? But just honoring the work that she has brought to the world. So do you want to speak a little bit, Judith, about your time with studying with Angelise Arian and her insightfulness on grief, on ritual and ceremony?
Yes, she took us through many rituals. She took us through lots of different rituals, including medicine wheel, one in which we are releasing called a tobacco trap that we would release into a tree. We did a ritual called prayer sticks, in which we would weave yarn around a stick and in different colors, the different colors meaning different things. And then with each time that we wrapped yarn around the stick, it represents another prayer. In other words, we're praying the whole time that we are creating the prayer stick. And then when it's finished, release it into water. Release it into water so that it is then going out, and in what I preferred was to release it into the ocean. There were many, many rituals, and I would like to read a little bit about from her book in which she talks about loss and ritual. She talks about three or six major forms of loss around which we can do ritual. And these are loss of attachment, loss of turf or place, loss of structure, which could be the loss of a job, the loss of structure in our lives.
Yes.
Loss of a future, which would be the loss of a dream, a dream that we're holding that perhaps we have to let go of. Loss of meaning and loss of control.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and she's quoting someone else saying, she says that many shamanic traditions recognize that ritual helps people deal with loss.
Mm-hmm.
And she quotes Holmes and Holland saying that they remind us that the word ritual, in fact, comes from the Indo-European root, which means to fit together.
Mm-hmm.
And it is related to such words as art, skill, order, weaving, and arithmetic, all of which involve fitting things together to create order. And she says all societies have rituals to acknowledge the major transitions of life, which are birth, initiation, marriage, and death. And then ritual is the conscious act of recognizing a life change and doing something to honor and support the change through the presence of such elements as witnesses, gift
Mm.
giving, ceremony, and sacred intention. In this way, human beings support the changes they are experiencing and create a way to fit things together. So,
Mm.
ritual helps us create order and also regain a sense of control in the face of great loss.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That is a big component or a big reason for doing ritual. That sense of when we're experiencing that kind of loss, we feel truly out of control, that our world has just been turned upside down. And what you're saying is that ritual can give us back that sense of having control, being able to control a situation. Excuse me. I wanted to, before I say anything, I'll give you a chance to speak before I say any more. I'll give you a chance to speak.
Oh, well, I think that, we all are familiar with the common rituals, funerals, weddings, christenings, a ritual around the birth of a child. But what I have been thinking about more recently is, and that I read something about yesterday, was that we can create our own personal rituals they're not these grandiose affairs. They may not even involve anybody else, or they may. That's where witnesses come in, because having a witness to a ritual can help anchor that shift in feeling. But we can create our own personal rituals, and I have done that at times when I just needed to process something, and I just created my own ritual, and it can be very, very helpful and very powerful.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And it can be very, very simple. Very
Yeah.
simple. I remember, I'll just tell a little story here. I had a bestest friend who was dying. And just had this really close relationship. And there wasn't anything that we couldn't share, even sharing about, her life coming to an end. And I was just visiting her just about every day. And her parents came to town and decided that there should be no more visitors. I remember the father saying to me when I called to come over, he said, no, she would not want you to see her in this condition. And I thought, but I've already seen her in that condition. And my heart was broken. And I had another friend, and we were both just really devastated by that, by not being able to visit our friend. So I said to my friend, I said, let's just do a little ritual. Let's make our own ritual. And all we did, Judith, we just took one candle and we lit the candle. And we said that candle was the flame of her soul. And we spoke our words of love into that flame. And afterwards, it was the most healing. I could let go of, oh, they don't want us to come see. I could let go of all the story around it and could feel a sense of peace with that. And I'm just saying that the biggest part of a ritual is just your intention.
Yes.
Ever you want to put forth, whatever reason you have, however you want to do it, just you can personalize it. And I know that it can bring a sense of release or relief. We'll put it that way.
Mm.
Yes.
And sometimes it takes time. Sometimes you have a sense of immediate release and like completion, and that now you can move on. And sometimes you don't.
Right. And here's what I love that. Thank you, Judith, because sometimes you can have that immediate sense of release or relief, but then it comes back. Say a couple days, it comes back. So maybe seeing it as an ongoing process and not just not like a magic wand, not like, oh yes, this is, do this ritual and it's all over. And that was mentioned in the article that I read from. He was saying that, time and attention is what heals. So bring attention.
Yeah, that was great. I noted that. That was a really important point, that it's not just time, that all things, as you said, there's this saying that all things heal with time. And and then adding in all things heal with time and attention. And we don't know the timing. It's a mystery. Healing is largely a mystery. We all do it differently. We all do it in our own time. And even ourselves, there may be one situation in which we heal very quickly. And we can complete and let go and move on, and then there may be another situation that takes a very long time. It can't even be years. And so be patient with ourselves. And what's coming to mind is the serenity prayer.
Oh yes.
Lord, grant me the serenity to accept the things I can't change, wisdom to change, the courage to change what I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Yeah.
I think that's so applicable to the healing process, to healing from loss. And we just have to be gentle with ourselves. Oh, and now another quote is coming to mind from the Desiderata, where he says, beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. For whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should.
Oh, that's beautiful, Judith. Even though I know sometimes it's like it just couldn't be. But just that knowing. Oh, that's, I don't know if I want to really ask that question, or maybe I will ask the question, but not in a way of being judgmental or any of those things. But do you find, in your opinion, and with your life experience, do you find having a spiritual practice helps with moving through ritual and finding relief, finding release?
Yes.
And so with that said, that it's saying yes. Yes, saying yes. Tell me how that, tell me why for the yes. Yes, that's it. Tell me why.
that was a simple answer. YES period.
Oh, that was the end of the conversation. Is that what you said?
No, that wasn't the end of the conversation. Well, I do connect with a higher power. I do connect with spirit, and I call it spirit. And I know there's so many names, the divine, but I do sense that presence. And the more that I avail myself to feel that presence, the easier it is. The easier it is to move through the challenges of life, including loss. And the way that I do that most often is through meditation. So I have a meditation practice every morning, and I go deep. I mean, sometimes, not all the time, but when it is really, really beautiful is when I go deep and I can reach a sense of the divine within me, and a sense of oneness, a sense of oneness. And it defies all logic. It defies all logic, but a sense of deep peace, and that all is well with the world, which of course flies in the face of logic and everything we see outwardly. But that is the place, that is the sense that I get to. So if I can reach that place inside,
Right.
then it's much easier to move through these challenges. And when that sense comes, when that experience comes, it's a gift. I feel like it comes with grace. I cannot plan it. I cannot make it happen. I cannot, say, okay, today I'm going to have that experience. All I can do is make myself available as a vessel for some for myself to open up and for this experience to come in. That's how I experience it. But I can only make myself available. And when it happens and when it doesn't is a mystery.
Yes, beautifully said, Judith. I wanted to ask you, when I was reading your bio, it was talking about the threshold choir, and that you sing at the bedside of the dying. Would you say that's a ritual or a ceremony, or just speak to your experience with singing at the bedside of those?
It's been a while since I've done it, and I'm a little bit out of practice because of COVID. I didn't attend rehearsals, and with threshold choir, you need to keep up to date with it. So I haven't done that. Well, I did that a year ago at the bedside of a friend. It's a very, very ceremonial time, very sacred time. And there's actually now training workshops to go through before singing at a bedside, because it's so sensitive. And you really, I think the real key for me is to tune in to the presence of the person who is departing. I mean, they may not be departing while you're there with them, but they may. You don't know. But to be tuned in and present to where they are and who they are and what their need is and what they want. And this is also in connection with their loved ones and family. But you're really present. That's the main thing. You just have to be completely present. You have to be there without an agenda.
Right. How did you become involved, Judith? How did you become involved with Threshold Choir?
The leader, the person who founded Threshold, whose name is Kate Munger, was leading round singing in the Bay Area. She's been a teacher, music teacher and singer all of her life. And so she would offer these public gatherings when people could just come and sing rounds. And somehow I heard about that and I joined her and I went regularly to her singing events. And then as she evolved, I evolved with her. So,
Mm.
so during the course of knowing her, she got the inspiration to start the Threshold Choir. And I was at the very first meeting of Threshold, which was in the Richmond Hills in
Wow.
someone's room. And that, I believe that was in 2000. I believe it was 22 years ago. And so the East Bay was the very first Threshold Choir. And then gradually it just started mushrooming until now there are Threshold choirs not only all over the US but all over the world. And
I know, this is what I was going to say. You were on the what is it called? From the ground, from the inception of it.
Yes.
You were involved from the inception.
Yes. And now Kate has retired. She still leads singing, but she used to rehearse our choir in person for many years. And she would make the rounds of our choir in Santa Cruz and Marin. And I think there was one in Walnut Creek, 4 or 5. She would rehearse each one on a different day, and she lives way up in Inverness past Point Reyes. I mean, she was just so incredibly dedicated, and this was her passion, and she created something that I think will be her legacy, and it is continuing. It's continuing and growing.
Exactly. So how does one get in touch with the Threshold Choir? If, say, I wanted someone to sing at the bedside of a friend, or just wanting to be able to refer that service.
Yeah, because it can be referred. Thresholdchoir.org.
Okay, and
Yeah.
that
Yeah, because people can put in a request and say, they can contact somebody in one of the choirs and say, I have a, mother who is about to pass away or who is in hospice. Would it be possible for Threshold members to come and sing? And people come and sing in threes. It's usually 3 people, and there's a lead. It's 3 people at a bedside. And there's a lead person, and they all sing in harmony. So it's usually 3-part harmony, and
wow.
there's a core set of songs that people learn and sing, and everyone who sings at bedsides knows those core songs. The repertoire is huge. I think it's like 400 songs.
Wow, that's just that one.
But the core songs, I think there's about 25 or 30 core songs.
Yeah, that's a lot of songs to learn. But I'm sure you have a songbook that you could take with you, correct?
Yeah. Yes. And if you're a member, you can access songs online as well.
Yeah, because I just, Threshold Choir made me think it's a choir at the bedside. And it's like,
no,
but
it's very, very limited, very small. The rehearsals may be 10 or 12 or 15 people, but the bedside singing is limited to 3 usually.
Oh gosh. And Judith, what does that do for you when you're there at the bedside singing? Just if you could share that, if that's not too intimate, to share what it does for you.
Well, it's being in service. It's being in service. There's no charge for this, and it's a sacred time. My experience is that the feeling at a birth and the feeling at a death are the same. It's the soul the soul coming in and the soul leaving, and it's a really, really potent sacred time and sensitive time. And so, it gives me a sense of really, that's it, of being of service.
Right, of really sharing that of yourself, giving a part of yourself.
Yeah.
Yes, just to help ease someone else's way.
Ease a transition. That's why it's called threshold, because we sing at the thresholds of life. We also sing at weddings. Wedding is a threshold. I've sung at weddings before too.
Yes. It was in some of my research around loss. They were saying even a wedding was a loss. It's like, how could a wedding be? But it's a loss of that singlehoodness, that identity that goes with being single. That's loss, and so that could cause grief. So I just thought, when you said that a wedding, it was like, oh, how could a wedding, a threshold?
Well, it's a threshold. It's not necessarily a loss, but it's singing at a threshold.
Right.
And the threshold from one life to the new life is what a wedding represents.
Right. I just wanted to talk a little bit, circling back to ritual. Were there any certain types of rituals, things that Angeles would say, perhaps creating an altar, or what kinds of things did she recommend when performing ritual? Was there anything in particular that stands out?
Well, her work is around the seasons, and the archetypes of they go with the 4 seasons. The winter is the warrior, the spring is the healer, the summer is visionary, and the fall is the teacher. And that we all carry all of these archetypes within us, and eventually what can happen is that we become balanced in all 4 of these archetypes. We may have one that's dominant, and so her rituals were often around something to do with the seasons. I mean, honoring the seasons, including, I don't remember doing a solstice ceremony with her, but she would honor the solstice in the winter. And so I mean, nothing is jumping out to me specifically other than the one I already mentioned.
Right. Well, I was just thinking some of the things that people use during a ritual, like, for example, water can symbolize purification and protection and healing.
Oh, okay. Well, you're reminding me. Each season has an instrument that goes with it, and there are ways to use the instruments. And so the fall is click sticks, and you click the sticks together, and there are different ways to click them for different purposes. And I believe in the winter, in the warrior, the instrument is the rattle. And there are ways to use the rattle to break patterns. That's the main way I've used the rattle, pattern breaking. And then in the spring, the instrument is the drum. And the drum represents the heartbeat. The heartbeat is the earliest drum beat that we hear. And then in the summer, the instrument is the bell. And that the bell is a way to call the angels.
Oh, I love that. And bells to dispel negative energy, or just shift the energy of an environment. Oh, but just back to the rattle. Do you remember what Angeles Arian said about the rattle? That was like I was going to say primitive or primal sound with the rattle. Is that ringing a bell, Judith?
Yeah, that it's one of the earliest toys that a baby has. That is cross-culturally. In almost every culture, babies have little rattles, and they're made different ways, but they all have rattles. And it's a toy, but it's an ancient. All of these are ancient, actually. I mean, drums are ancient, rattles are ancient. You know, all cultures cross-culturally have used bells and rattles and drums. I'm not sure about click sticks. How prevalent they have been. I know, yeah, but yeah, these are ancient things that um, she taught about, and she called it perennial wisdom. Her teaching, she called perennial wisdom.
Yeah. But
Mhm.
how fortunate you were. How fortunate you were to have been with her. And I just wanted to offer another item. If you're doing a ritual, of course, having water, incense, which is also used for purification for a sacred space.
Incense
And
and fire. Mhm.
oh, fire
Fire.
in general.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. And I said incense for purification. The other
Mhm.
item is a candle, as we have done here today.
Yeah,
And it,
and they are still burning.
and they represent, I mean, and you can bring your own meaning into it, but just to read what ancient wisdom would say around the candle. It's just that it's the presence of God or the goddess, as you say, bringing in spirit. And in the four corners of a ritual circle, it represents the presence of the four classical elements: earth, wind, fire, and water. Was there any special significance that you would use with Angeles for candles?
I don't remember her specifically talking about candles. I know that she used them on her altars, and I know that before she passed away, she asked that her family and friends and students light a candle
Mm.
on the day of her death and
Oh,
put it on an altar. And I do that, for years afterwards. It's just a way of memorializing her. It's a
mhm.
way we could, because she's an ancestor now, it's a way we could memorialize any ancestor, is to,
Mhm.
place a candle on an altar with their picture. Um,
Right.
and one of the things about candles and fire, I'm going to bring my a candle up here again, is that fire transmutes. Fire
Mm.
transmutes. So things change form. They change form with fire. So you put wood or paper in a fire, and all of a sudden it takes a different form. It's smoke now. Same with
Yeah.
incense. The incense. So the smoke represents a release.
Mm.
The smoke represents that it's going. In fact, it's a good metaphor for what happens with death. With leaving the body behind, the energy. At least this is what I believe. The energy of the being, of the soul, um, the spirit and the soul still exists, but now it's in another form, and
Exactly.
we don't see it. The same as a piece of paper or a block of wood burning. They're here and then they're not here, and
Mm.
they've gone up in smoke. The energy of it still exists, but it's in another form.
Mm.
So we're like water and steam, water evaporating into steam. It's here, it's in the form of liquid water that we can touch it, and now it's not. you know,
Yes.
it's not, but it still exists in some form. So
Mhm. Mhm.
that's how I think of fire. The ritual aspect of fire is that it transmutes.
Right. Transmutes. I love that. I'm just going to read a little bit more about what a candle can symbolize. Symbolizing light in the darkness of life, especially individual life. Illumination. It is a symbol of illumination of the spirit of the truth, even. Lit in times of death, they signify the light in the next world and may represent Christ as the light. So that's just some ideas around candles and having light if you're doing a ritual. having candles, what that could symbolize. But just know that you can put your own meaning to this, and it's what you feel is the most important thing. Mm-hmm. And I just want to just read a couple things that you can do when selecting activities for a more structured grief ritual. These are some of the things that you could do. Okay, and the most important thing is to have an opening, have a clearly defined opening that says, I am doing this for my mother. I am doing this for the job that I really wanted and didn't get, or the job that I can't continue, want to honor that. But what you can do is light a special candle that you use only for ritual purposes. Some incense. You could read or say aloud an inspirational verse, poem, or prayer. Sing a song. You can chant. Play a particular selection of music. Ring a bell, what Judith just talked about, bells for the summer. Take a walk, leaving a trail of flower petals. Build a cairn using stones, when you stack the stones in a certain order. And clearly marking the beginning and the end of the ritual will help you transition into a different frame of mind at the beginning, and it will signal that it is time to shift consciousness back to the closing. So I just wanted to offer that if you were thinking of, wow, well, how can, what do I do for ritual if I want to make one? Those are just suggestions. And do bring your own intention to any ritual that you're doing. Did you want to add anything, Judith, to that?
No, I think you're good.
I think what we're going to do is that we're going to take a break, and we're going to take a break, and then when we come back, we will do one last ritual. But I just want to read a little bit before we take a break. And just to say this, people need to find meaning in their lives, especially after loss, that makes them feel less confident than their world, that their world is safe and predictable. Using ritual can help compensate for that sense of loss and encourage people to move forward. And I don't want to say move on, because we don't move on from grief. We move forward with our grief. Our grief is the instrument that is bringing the teaching and bringing about the change. So if you're having a difficult time dealing with loss or disappointment, just try using a ritual. Just try it, and you can send me an email, you can send me a text, you can send me an email saying, Bonnie, that was awesome, or Bonnie, please, I need to start over. So anyway, we're going to take a little break, and then when we come back, Judith will do a reading, and I'll light a candle. So that'll be our ritual. So we'll be right back. Well, that was super quick, wasn't it? Yeah. I was going to shift over and get something, but I'm glad I didn't move. We just needed a contact information if people would like to get in touch with you and just ask a few more questions about anything that we've discussed as far as ritual and as far as your studies with the world-renowned Angelus Area. Or they just want to talk with you about threshold choir or any of those things. I see that. Is email still the best, or website?
Email is good. Yeah, email is good.
Fantastic. Okay, great. Well, I just want to thank everybody for being here with us today. And especially during that opening ritual to honor those that have gone before us. And so now Judith will lead us a ritual for us for moving forward with 2023. And as I said, we're not moving on from our grief, we're moving forward with our grief.
Yeah, and this isn't, it's actually not a reading, it's just a time to welcome in the new year with our intentions for 2023, having left 2022 behind. So I wanted to invite us, and if you're online, you can, if you're watching this, you can do this as well, and invite Bonnie as well to just take a moment to contemplate what you are welcoming in or claiming. Claiming is another word. Claiming is more like a declaration. But so you can think of it either way, what works for you. But what do you claim or welcome in for the new year? And this can be personal. It can be a personal thing you're welcoming in for the new year, or it can be global. It can be something for the world, or it can be both. So let's take a moment and just see what comes to you that you are welcoming in. I like the word welcoming into my life for the new world, for the new new year, the new world also, the new world also.
Yes.
But yeah, let's just take a moment. And now I'd like to invite Bonnie to share and to light a candle for what she is welcoming in or claiming. And those of you who are watching can also do this in your own time.
I am lighting this candle and welcoming in the energies of healing, the energy that heals hearts that are heavy with grief and despair, knowing that healing is entering right now. Thank you, Judith.
Thank you.
And did you also light a candle, Judith? And
You know, I am going to right now. I am
okay.
lighting a candle right now because it came to me very clearly. I am lighting a candle for deep peace. And that's deep peace within me and deep peace in the world. Both.
I love that. Thank you, Judith.
2023.
Yes. May peace and healing be ours. May we embody that peace and may embody that healing and radiate it back out to the planet. Thank you, Judith, so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I invite those at home to do the same whenever you're watching this. You know, take some time to really drop within and call in what it is that you desire for 2023. So just thank you, Judith. Thank you for being here to discuss the healing power of rituals for grief. And I'm just honored that you said yes to the call. So thank you so much. And just invite everyone to really check out some of the other programs on New Thought Media Network. Thanking New New Thought Media Network for having this platform that allows for really deep, soulful dialogues and interaction. So make a donation to New Thought Media Network so that they can continue with this really valuable programming. So I am just honored to have spent this hour with everyone. I can't believe how fast it goes. And I also want to give a special thank you to my producer, Joe, who just really works overtime and tirelessly to make Your Doula successfully appear on the air on Mondays. So with that said, thank you. Happy New Year. Judith, love to you, love to Joe and Kathy. So thank you. We'll see you next.
Thank you for the invitation.
Oh, thank you for being here. Ciao.
On behalf of everyone at New Thought Media Network, thank you for being a member of our virtual family. Your financial contributions help share the New Thought message with people from around the world. Please visit and contribute at www.ntmedia.org/donate. New Thought Media Network. Come be you. And please like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, peace and blessings.